What if everything you've been taught about productivity is actually the reason you're burning out? There's a neuroscience discovery that explains why high achievers feel more exhausted than ever despite accomplishing more, and why pushing harder will never lead to sustainable success. The moment you understand what's really happening in your brain, you'll realize you're not working to achieve goals. You're working to survive your own nervous system. Everything changes. Here's what's shocking about this discovery. Most people complete hundreds of tasks every single day, completely unconsciously, checking emails while eating breakfast, thinking about deadlines during family time, lying in bed, mentally rehearsing tomorrow's meetings, sitting in traffic feeling behind on everything. But they never ask why their achievements feel hollow and their energy keeps depleting faster than they can restore it. They're trying to optimize their schedule instead of optimizing what creates sustainable energy. They react to every notification and demand, which just generates more overwhelm and decision fatigue, because they don't realize their nervous system is literally broadcasting stress signals that attract more chaos into their lives. And this is exactly why time management apps and productivity hacks don't work for most people. But there's a peak performance principle that changes everything. When you understand that every action you take either builds your energy reserves or depletes them, you can stop fighting your biology and start working with your natural rhythms to achieve more while feeling energized instead of exhausted. If this resonates with you, or if you've ever felt accomplished but completely drained at the same time, leave a comment saying energy over effort, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video for more content that transforms not just what you do, but how you feel while doing it. I'm going to show you the exact 4-phase energy management system that transforms you from someone who achieves through force into someone who achieves through flow. Plus, I'll give you the reset protocol that restores your peak performance capacity in just 90 seconds, so you become the calm, focused leader who gets more done while others burn out around you. Every depleted moment you experience is a missed opportunity to literally optimize your energy output. And most high achievers waste hundreds of these optimization points every single day. When you were a child, you didn't think your way into play. You simply began. Your very first instinct when presented with something interesting wasn't to plan, strategize, or worry about efficiency. It was to dive in with complete presence. Your young mind entered activities not through the complexity of systems or the pressure of outcomes, but through the simple, profound rhythm of natural engagement. In that state, you knew something you've since forgotten. Flow is the bridge between who you are and who you're capable of becoming. But somewhere along the way, we learned to work like machines instead of like the dynamic beings we are. We began performing from depletion rather than from vitality. Take a moment right now and notice your energy. Where is it coming from? If you're like most people, it's probably forced, rushed, centered in your head with tension in your shoulders. This is what I call mechanical productivity, the kind that gets tasks done but leaves your spirit exhausted. Peak performers throughout history understood something we've forgotten in our hustle culture. From the focused intensity of master craftsmen to the rhythmic wisdom of ancient builders, cultures across time recognize sustainable achievement as far more than checking boxes on a to-do list. They knew it was the sacred balance connecting effort and ease, the physical and the energetic, the human and the optimal. In these traditions, conscious work wasn't just productivity. It was a pathway to mastery. The Japanese taught that each task contained the power to awaken different states of excellence. The master artisans discovered that work could shift not just your outer results, but the very quality of your inner experience. They weren't speaking metaphorically. They understood that when you work consciously, you're not just completing tasks through your effort. You're channeling energy through existence itself. Think about this. Every breakthrough you've ever had, every moment of peak performance, every time you felt truly alive while working has been accompanied by a particular energy pattern. When you're in flow, your actions become effortless and precise. When you're forcing, everything feels like pushing against resistance. Your energy isn't just reflecting your performance, it's creating it. The difference between mechanical productivity and peak productivity is presence. Mechanical productivity happens to you. Peak productivity happens through you with you as a conscious conductor of the symphony between your inner state and the field of infinite possibility that surrounds you. When you begin to work with intention, with presence, with reverence for this simple act that connects you to your highest potential, something magical begins to happen. You stop being a passive victim of whatever demands show up, and you become an active creator of sustainable excellence. This is where productivity becomes peak performance, because every action you take from that place is no longer just getting things done. It's keeping you aligned with your deepest capacity. What I'm about to reveal will shatter your understanding of what productivity really means. You think you're managing your time, but you're actually managing your energy. Most of us spend our entire lives believing productivity is about doing more things faster. We wake up in the morning and immediately the internal pressure begins. What's on my calendar today? I have back-to-back meetings. I need to finish that project. I should probably check my messages. And we assume this constant motion equals progress. But what if I told you that's not how peak performance actually works? Right now, as you're listening to this, I want you to do something simple. Notice your current energy level. But this time, don't try to judge it as good or bad. Just observe it. Feel the quality of alertness in your body, the sense of either expansion or contraction in your chest, the rhythm of either ease or tension in your movements. As you do this, something remarkable is happening. You're becoming the conscious manager of your energy rather than just the unconscious consumer of it. Now, while you're assessing your energy, notice what your mind wants to do. It might be calculating how many hours until you can rest, or listing all the things you still need to accomplish, or wondering if you're being productive enough right now. Here's the beautiful revelation. If you can observe these patterns, if you can watch them operating without being controlled by them, then you cannot be those patterns. You're the one who has the power to redirect them. This is the birth of energy mastery. The part of you that exists beyond the endless cycle of depletion and temporary recovery. Think of it like being the conductor of an orchestra. Your tasks and responsibilities are the instruments. Sometimes the music requires intense, focused sections. Sometimes it calls for gentle, sustained notes. But you, the real you, are directing the entire composition from a place of centered awareness. You're not the music. You're the consciousness that creates harmony from all the different elements. In peak performance research, they use the metaphor of the river and the riverbank. Your activities are like water flowing past. Sometimes the current is gentle and manageable. Sometimes it's rushing and demanding. But you, your essential self, are positioned on the bank, choosing consciously how to engage with the flow. You're not drowning in the river. You're the awareness that can navigate any current. This energy mastery is your true nature. The part of you that has remained capable and resilient through every challenge you've ever faced. The part that will remain steady and resourceful through whatever comes next. It's the witness, the awareness, the calm presence that has been available throughout your entire journey of growth and achievement. Your reactive mind, that voice that creates urgency about everything, wants you to believe it's keeping you safe and productive. It creates elaborate stories about what you must accomplish, what others expect of you, what will happen if you don't keep pushing. It lives in constant commentary about yesterday's unfinished tasks and anxiety about tomorrow's deadlines. But energy mastery lives only in this moment, in the eternal now where all real power and efficiency reside. When you begin to operate more from energy mastery and less from reactive urgency, something profound shifts. You stop being scattered and become strategic. Instead of being driven by every demand or notification, you can assess them, prioritize consciously, and choose how to respond from your center. This is where your real productivity begins. Conscious energy management becomes your anchor to sustainable peak performance. Every time you return your attention to your current energy state, you're returning home to who you really are as a high-performing individual. You're stepping out of the chaos of endless doing and into the flow of purposeful being. This isn't just a productivity concept. This is applied neuroscience in action. The research on flow states tells us that peak performance literally changes your brain chemistry. When you become the conscious director of your energy, you gain the power to access and sustain your optimal cognitive and creative capacity. Have you ever experienced a moment when you accomplished more in 2 hours than most people do in 2 days? Maybe it was during a creative breakthrough or when you were solving a complex problem. Hidden in your natural energy cycles is a peak performance window where you can literally access genius-level capacity. But 99% of people never learn to recognize and optimize it. Those moments when you felt unstoppable that you just remembered, they weren't accidents. They were glimpses of what becomes possible when you align with your natural rhythms, when you slip into the space between forced effort and effortless flow. In that elevated state, you touch something extraordinary, something beyond ordinary productivity. You discovered peak performance. Take a moment right now to recall that experience. But this time, pay attention not just to what you accomplished, but to how you felt while accomplishing it. There was a quality of ease, of everything clicking into place, of being simultaneously relaxed and intensely focused. These aren't just peak moments, they're accessible states. Your energy naturally cycles through different phases throughout the day. There's a phase where your analytical mind is sharpest, perfect for complex problem solving. Another where your creative capacity peaks, ideal for innovation and big picture thinking. A restoration phase where your brain processes and integrates, essential for learning and memory consolidation. And a connection phase where your social and collaborative abilities are optimized. Most people work against these cycles, trying to force creativity when they're in analytical mode, or attempting complex thinking when they're in a restoration phase. But when you learn to recognize and honor these natural rhythms, when you can align your most important work with your optimal energy states, you discover that peak performance isn't something you have to create. It's something you have to allow. Think of this alignment like surfing. You can't create the wave, but you can position yourself to ride it with tremendous power and grace. Your energy cycles are the waves. Most people exhaust themselves trying to swim against the current or wondering why they feel stuck when the tide is low. But when you learn to read these patterns, when you can sense the perfect moment to engage with full intensity and when to pull back and restore, you begin to move through your work and your life with a completely different quality of effectiveness. In this peak state, something remarkable happens. Your usual mental resistance dissolves. The internal voice that says this is too hard, I don't have enough time, I'm not smart enough for this goes quiet. And in that clarity, pure capability can emerge. Not the desperate striving of the ego, but the calm confidence of someone operating in their zone of genius. It's here that your deepest ambitions stop being overwhelming goals and become natural expressions of who you are when you're functioning optimally. Think of this peak state as the laboratory of excellence itself. Just as innovations emerge from the perfect conditions of focused research, your breakthroughs need this quality of aligned energy to manifest. The ancient masters called it Wu Wei, effortless action, that state where maximum impact flows from minimum force. Most people rush past these optimal moments. They work when they feel scattered, push when they feel depleted, always trying to overcome their biology instead of cooperating with it. But when you learn to recognize peak states, when you can be patient enough to wait for alignment and decisive enough to act when it arrives, you discover that this is where all true productivity lies. It's not about working harder or longer. It's about learning to recognize and inhabit the moments when you're naturally capable of extraordinary output. And in that recognition, touching the place where intention meets infinite potential. In peak performance, you're not trying to control outcomes. You're optimizing inputs, but accessing peak states is only the beginning. There's something deeper that determines whether you can sustain excellence or inevitably burn out. Your nervous system has been sending you signals for years that you've been interpreting as weaknesses. And those misunderstood messages are literally blocking your access to sustainable high performance. That deeper element I mentioned isn't found in pushing through fatigue or developing more willpower. It's discovered by understanding the sophisticated intelligence of your autonomic nervous system, by learning to read the subtle language your body uses to guide you towards sustainable excellence. Just as ancient warriors developed heightened sensitivity to their environment for survival, you must cultivate an inner awareness system, not with hypervigilance and stress, but with wisdom and attunement to your optimal functioning. Think about elite athletes and performers. They don't just train their skills, they develop exquisite sensitivity to their internal state. A professional musician can sense the smallest shift in their attention that might affect their performance. A world-class athlete knows exactly when their body is primed for peak output and when it needs recovery. These aren't superhuman abilities. They're learnable skills of nervous system awareness. Your autonomic nervous system is like the operating system of a high-performance computer. Most people never learn to read its feedback, so they keep running programs that drain the battery, overheat the processor, and eventually lead to system crashes that we call burnout. But when you understand how to interpret and work with these signals, your nervous system becomes your most sophisticated guidance system for sustainable achievement. The ancient Greeks understood this profoundly. They recognized the human being as a dynamic system that functioned optimally when all elements were in harmony. They knew that peak performance wasn't about overriding natural limitations, but about understanding and optimizing natural capacity. As you begin to pay attention to your nervous system's feedback, you might notice something interesting happening. Certain types of work or environments consistently energize you while others drain you, regardless of how successful you are at them. Your body might feel expansive and alert during creative work, but contracted during administrative tasks. Or you might notice that collaboration energizes you while extended solo work depletes you, even when you're being productive. These aren't just preferences, they're data points. Your nervous system has been conducting sophisticated research on your optimal functioning for your entire life, collecting information about what conditions support your peak performance and what conditions undermine it. That sense of expansion when you're in your zone isn't just a good feeling. It's your nervous system confirming that you're operating in alignment with your natural design. The feeling of contraction or resistance isn't a character flaw or something to push through. It's intelligence, letting you know that this particular approach or environment isn't sustainable for you. But here's the beautiful thing about nervous system awareness. It doesn't just reveal these patterns, it helps you optimize them. Each moment of conscious attention to your internal state is like upgrading your personal operating system, fine-tuning the settings, clearing out programs that no longer serve you, and amplifying the functions that support your highest performance. Imagine having real-time feedback about your optimal functioning. As you attune to your nervous system's signals, you develop the ability to sense when you're approaching your productive edge, the point where continued effort will start diminishing returns. You learn to recognize the early signs of depletion before they become exhaustion, the subtle shift from flow into force. Most importantly, you discover that what you thought were limitations are actually intelligent boundaries designed to keep you functioning at your best. Your need for recovery isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Your resistance to certain types of work isn't laziness, it's guidance toward your zone of genius. The Greeks built their philosophy around the concept of arete, excellence of character expressed through optimal functioning. Through nervous system awareness, you're doing the same thing with your life and work. You're aligning your daily choices with a higher intelligence of sustainable peak performance that wants to operate through you. This isn't about perfecting yourself or forcing your nervous system to be different. It's about learning to collaborate with the intelligence that's been guiding you all along and clearing the patterns that have been preventing your most effortless effectiveness. Once you understand your nervous system's language, something remarkable begins to happen to your entire approach to work and achievement. Research has proven that your nervous system state affects everyone within your immediate environment, which means your internal condition is unconsciously influencing every interaction and outcome right now. That remarkable transformation in your approach isn't just personal development. It's measurable neuroscience. Studies in emotional contagion and mirror neuron research have shown that your autonomic nervous system state transmits to others within seconds of interaction. And this transmission changes dramatically based on whether you're operating from depletion or vitality. When your nervous system is dysregulated, stressed, or depleted, you broadcast that chaos through your micro-expressions, vocal tone, and energy field. Others unconsciously mirror this state, making collaboration more difficult, creativity more elusive, and conflict more likely. But when your nervous system is regulated, calm, and energized, you become a source of coherence that others can actually feel and naturally attune to. Think of your nervous system state like the conductor's energy in an orchestra. When the conductor is scattered or anxious, the entire ensemble becomes less synchronized, less inspired. Individual musicians might still play their parts correctly, but the magic of collective flow is lost. However, when the conductor embodies calm confidence and clear intention, the entire orchestra naturally elevates to match that state. This is your influence as a peak performer. Every interaction you have while operating from nervous system coherence contributes to the field of possibility around you. Have you ever noticed how some leaders seem to bring out the best in everyone around them, while others create stress and dysfunction even when they're trying to be positive? Have you ever walked into a meeting and immediately felt either energized to contribute or drained before anything was even discussed? This isn't personality. It's nervous system contagion in action. We're constantly transmitting our internal state through thousands of subtle signals, and others are receiving and responding to this information, whether anyone realizes it or not. Children and animals are especially sensitive to these transmissions because they haven't learned to override their natural attunement to energy. When a parent is operating from chronic stress, children often become hypervigilant or act out, responding to the nervous system chaos they're picking up. But when that same parent takes time to regulate their internal state, children naturally settle and become more cooperative. This same principle applies in professional environments. When you operate from nervous system coherence, you're not just improving your own performance. You're creating an energetic context that makes it easier for innovation, collaboration, and problem-solving to emerge naturally in everyone around you. Team members find themselves more creative in your presence. Meetings become more productive. Conflicts resolve more easily. This isn't because you're managing or controlling anything externally. It's because your regulated nervous system is providing a stable field that allows others' best functioning to emerge. The beautiful thing about understanding nervous system influence is that it shows you how leadership really works. You're not motivating people through your words or inspiring them through your vision, though those matter. You're influencing them through your state of being, through the quality of presence you bring to every interaction. This influence extends to every aspect of your professional and personal life. When you prepare for important conversations or presentations by regulating your nervous system first, you're not just calming your own anxiety. You're creating the optimal conditions for whatever needs to emerge from that interaction. When you maintain nervous system coherence during challenging situations, you become the calm center around which solutions can organize themselves. Instead of adding to the chaos, you become the stable reference point that allows clarity to emerge. But this influence isn't something you need to think about or manage consciously. It happens naturally when you focus on optimizing your own internal state. The field responds to authenticity, not performance. When you operate from genuine nervous system coherence, from a real place of regulated calm and focused energy, that authenticity radiates outward without any effort on your part. This is why the most effective leaders often describe their impact as effortless. They understand that sustainable influence comes not from what you do to others, but from who you're being in their presence. They've learned that one person operating from nervous system coherence can shift the entire dynamic of a room, a project, or an organization. You've traveled far in understanding peak performance, not through complicated systems, but through the elegant intelligence of your own optimal functioning, through rhythm, awareness, and alignment. The most successful people in history mastered one thing you've never been taught: how to access unlimited energy through perfect alignment with their natural design. And in that understanding, you've discovered something our culture of endless hustle doesn't want you to know. The most productive thing you can do is often to align rather than push. We live in a society that worships busyness, that tells us more hours equals more results, that keeps us constantly doing, constantly achieving, constantly proving our worth through output. But the field of peak performance, the quantum field of optimal functioning, operates by completely different principles. Peak performance doesn't respond to how hard you try. It responds to how aligned you are. It doesn't care about your hustle or your grinding mentality. It cares about your coherence, your energy management, your state of being. And the most powerful state of all is aligned action. Not the alignment of perfectionism or rigid control, but the dynamic alignment of a master surfer reading the wave. Think about water for a moment. It appears gentle and yielding, yet it's tremendously powerful. It doesn't struggle against obstacles, it flows around them. It doesn't chase goals, it naturally moves toward its destination. Rivers carve through mountains. Oceans shape continents. Yet water never forces, it simply follows its nature. This is the kind of alignment that moves worlds. When you learn to work in harmony with your energy cycles, your natural strengths, and your optimal conditions, something extraordinary happens. Reality begins to support your efforts instead of requiring you to overcome it. Opportunities that you could never have forced begin to appear naturally. Resources you need seem to become available at exactly the right moment. Solutions to complex problems suddenly become obvious, not because you thought harder, but because you created the internal conditions where insight can emerge. This isn't wishful thinking. It's applied neuroscience. When you're in a state of alignment and flow, you're no longer broadcasting the chaotic signals of stress, forcing, or struggle. Instead, you're emanating the clear frequency of coherence, receptivity, and natural power. Your nervous system responds to this alignment by optimizing all your cognitive and creative functions. Your brain literally performs better when you're working with your design rather than against it. Consider the concept of resonance in physics. When you strike a tuning fork, other tuning forks of the same frequency will begin vibrating in harmony, even from across the room. This is sympathetic resonance. When you operate from your zone of peak performance, you create resonance with opportunities, people, and resources that match that frequency. From this state of alignment, you naturally attract what you need and repel what doesn't serve your highest functioning. You become like a radio antenna, tuned to the frequency of your optimal life. This is the kind of alignment you can cultivate within yourself. Not the alignment of someone who has given up their ambitions, but the alignment of someone who has learned to achieve their ambitions through cooperation with their deepest intelligence rather than domination over their natural rhythms. The difference between forcing and flowing becomes crystal clear in this state. Forcing tries to make external circumstances match internal desires through effort and willpower. Flowing allows internal alignment to magnetize external harmony through coherence and natural action. Forcing is exhausting because you're working against the grain of your optimal functioning. Flowing is energizing because you're cooperating with it. When you manage your energy consciously, when you honor your natural cycles, when you operate from nervous system coherence, you're not trying to make success happen. You're allowing success to happen through you. You become a clear channel for your highest potential to express itself in your work and relationships. This doesn't mean becoming passive or uncommitted. True alignment is incredibly alive, incredibly focused. It's the alignment of an eagle riding thermal currents, using minimal energy to soar to incredible heights. Completely present, completely responsive, completely ready for whatever the moment requires. From this place, your actions become both effortless and extraordinarily effective because they're arising from alignment rather than forcing. Now, as you integrate this understanding, take this wisdom with you into every project, every interaction, every choice. And now you return not to who you were before, but to who you've always been capable of becoming. Beneath the conditioning and the pressure, the truth of peak performance brought you here. And now it reveals the final principle. Sustainable excellence is not about doing more. Sustainable excellence is about being more of who you naturally are when you're functioning optimally. You've journeyed through the intelligent nature of energy management, discovering that your daily choices are not just task completion, but opportunities for conscious optimization of your peak performance capacity. You've awakened the energy master within, that centered part of you that can read the subtle signals of your nervous system and make decisions that support rather than undermine your sustainable success. In the space between depletion and restoration, you found the sweet spot where peak performance naturally emerges. Through understanding your natural rhythms, you've learned that your energy cycles are not obstacles to overcome, but intelligence to collaborate with, offering pathways to effortless effectiveness and sustained achievement. You've discovered that your nervous system state creates a field of influence extending into every interaction, making you a constant contributor to either coherence or chaos in every environment you enter. And finally, you've touched the profound truth that the most powerful productivity comes not from pushing against your limitations, but from aligning with your optimal design and allowing excellence to flow through you rather than forcing it into existence. There will be moments when the world demands more than you have to give, when deadlines pressure you back into old patterns, when urgency clouds your awareness of what's sustainable, when the culture of hustle calls you back to proving your worth through exhaustion. In those moments, remember the shortest path to peak performance is alignment. 3 conscious breaths can bring you back to nervous system coherence. 1 moment of checking in with your energy can reconnect you to your optimal functioning. A single choice to honor your natural rhythm can restore your access to effortless effectiveness. This isn't about perfection, it's about returning. Each time you remember to work from alignment rather than forcing, you're not just improving your productivity, you're reshaping your entire relationship with achievement from the cellular level up. You're becoming a living demonstration that consciousness, not just effort, is the true source of sustainable success. Now, as you continue your journey of peak performance, take this understanding with you. Let your energy be your guide. Let alignment be your strategy. Let your nervous system's wisdom walk with you in every project, every goal, every moment of choice. So achieve, not to prove your worth, but to express it, not to escape your limitations, but to transcend them, not to force success, but to allow it. Peak performance is the path. You are the destination. Step into your excellence.